But what am I arriving with today? In my own case, it might be fussing with technology, but then checking in and what is the physical resonance of that, of whatever it was that I was doing beforehand? Can I notice it in my breath and just see what is my breath like? Is it fast? Is it slow? Is it deep? Is it shallow? Is it cool or warm? Does it change when my attention rests on it? There's no right way to breathe, no wrong way to breathe. Just try to let the body breathe all by itself and simply observe, notice what it's like. Allowing all the thoughts to settle here. It's just this one task of observing the breath and seeing what it's like. And when the mind begins to wander, as minds do, it's so good to know that all you ever have to do is very gently, with a little kindness, maybe notice what took your attention away. Was it planning? Was it dinner? Was it worry? Maybe daydreaming? And then very gently bring the attention right back to rest on the feeling of the breath, the tip of the nostrils, maybe the rise and fall of the belly. Releasing all the moments that have passed, the no longer. And not looking yet to the not yet, to the future. Just allowing your attention to rest right here on this breath. However it is. Continuing to arrive. To the best of your ability, allowing the attention to just follow the breath. Okay, welcome everybody. And as always, feel free to listen or just use the power of us being here to sit and close your eyes all by yourself. That is also totally fine. Okay, hang on one second. So we're continuing to work with Kohelet and the really deep mindfulness wisdom that's in there. On Sunday and a couple times we've been working with that very first chapter where the famous second verse of Havel Havelim, emptying upon emptying, everything is emptying. And I wanted to take us a little bit further today. And I'm going to skip into all the way into chapter 3. I can share it with you here. There we go. Okay, there's that what we've been working with. And then I'm going to go forward without making you dizzy, I hope. Sorry, I have to skip a few because we're going to go back to all of this. But I wanted to get here. The beginning of chapter 3 is really, everybody know, well, many of us know that bird song, to everything, turn, 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 there is a season. And this is where that comes. And this is the chapter we're talking about time and eternity. So we start with everything in this world has its moment, a season of ripening and falling away. And this is where we get the this and the that kind of feeling from these moments of birthing and moments of dying, moments of planting and moments of reaping, moments of killing, moments of healing, moments of demolition and moments of building. I don't know. Did anybody just, for me, I'm sorry, the East Wing just popped up in my head. I'm so sorry. It's like, really? Moments of weeping and moments of laughing, moments of mourning and moments of dancing, I would just go through a few more here. Moments of scattering stones, moments of gathering stones, moments of embracing, moments of distance. And notice there's no value putting on one side of this equation or the other. Sometimes the moments of embracing are great, and sometimes the moments of distance are just what are needed. And sometimes the moments of seeking are the thing, and sometimes the moments of losing are the thing. Moments of clinging, moments of releasing, moments of tearing, moments of mending, silence, talking, loving and hating, warring and peacemaking. And it goes on just a couple more. What's the point of being willful, demanding to reap that which has not yet grown? I've looked deeply into this human affliction, and this is where I want us to land tonight. Everything is beautiful in its moment, but the ripening is hidden from your mind, and you cannot comprehend beginnings or endings. So I'm going to just stop this a second so I can scroll back without making everybody dizzy. Here we go. Because we're going to talk a little bit about eternity. Okay, here we go. So chapter 3, verse 10 and 11. 10 just sets it up a little bit. This is a translation. I've been working with a number of different translations, some by which will go in most deeply with Rabbi Rami Shapiro in his Tao of Solomon. And then this is from Robert Alter, who is really one of the major biblical translators of our time. And he says, I have seen the business that God has given to the sons of man with which to busy themselves. So this is about tasks. We have tasks. And then everything he made, and in this case, God, has done aptly in its time. Eternity, too, he has put in their heart, without man's grasping at all what it is that God has done from beginning to end. So let's unpack a little bit of this. I'll take another translation here of this idea, and here's the Hebrew, et hakol asa yafeh be'ito. Everything is yafeh, everything is beautiful, be'ito, in its moment. But the ripening is hidden from your mind. You cannot comprehend beginnings or endings. There are some things that we know about, but just like there are some things that are bigger than us that we don't know. There are cycles that we can see, like we can see a young person growing up, but we can't see generations sometimes. Or we can see what the weather is in this moment. I can't see what the whole cycle is going to be for the year. This is what what he's talking about. You cannot comprehend the beginnings or endings. And here's where Shapiro is doing in this book. Here's the title, The Tao of Solomon, Unlocking the Perennial Wisdom of Ecclesiastes, where he has been working with this book for decades, really. And he wrote one book that had, Anna just did it like an annotated copy of it, where he translated and did annotations. And he realized that for modern people, even that was making, not giving a deep enough understanding of what he thought that Kohelet was really getting at here. And so he actually rewrote it. And he wrote it like this. So this is his rewriting of those same two verses. The matter of suffering is clear to me. It arises from ignorance of impermanence. Everything functions in time. Everything flows and changes, transforms. So this is all that whole bit about us having tasks. We have things that we do, that we have to do. And he says, I'll just read this again. The matter of suffering, and the Buddhists will say this is like the first thing that we notice about life. Life is not always satisfying. It is often full of suffering. The matter of suffering is clear to me. Where does it come from? It arises from ignorance of impermanence. Everything functions in time, everything flows, changes, transforms. Goes on to say, in your heart, you sense eternity, but your mind mistakes that for time without end. Eternity is not endless time. Eternity is the ending of time. So we'll stop for just a second. And I don't want to get too deep into the weeds here, but sometimes we get into the weeds when we think about an afterlife as eternal. But what is it that might pop into my mind is like a me living eternally. But which me? At what age? At what stage? And what does that mean? And if I'm, well, yeah, again, you can think about that. I don't want to get, he writes a whole thing about it. I don't want to get in the weeds on that because I think there's more interesting things for us. But there is one way of thinking of it, like the kind of the knee-jerk way, the most common way of thinking of it is that eternity is endless time. But I think this is a really good insight that Shapiro is bringing out of Kohelet, that eternity is the ending of time. And I'll explain that, I'll share what he says about it in just a second. Under the sun, so remember, Kohelet is the guy who says there's nothing new under the sun. That's his other second famous line. There's nothing new under the sun. Under the sun, it is all flux and flow, diverse and separate. But under the sun is not the whole. And there is a deeper truth embracing the many in a greater one, capital One. In this life that we are living, where we feel like we are separate selves, like I can't reach out and touch you right now, even though I can see you. And I feel sometimes like I end where my skin ends. And if I run into this table, I'm going to get a bruise and it's going to hurt. That is one level of reality, but that is not the whole. That is not everything. Under the sun is not the whole. The life that we live in these human bodies is not the whole. There is a deeper truth embracing the many in a greater one. Now we can see that both from a religious standpoint, but it is also, we're seeing that much more from a scientific standpoint also. And again, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds. I just want to introduce the possibility here. For instance, the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2022 went to three guys, Aspect, Clauser, and Zeilinger, for their experiments in quantum entanglement. And in a nutshell, their research showed that on the quantum level, well, see, we have two realms, the Newtonian realm, Newtonian physics. That's like with gravity and dropping of apples and all of that kind of stuff. That's the world we know and understand. That includes the arrow of time. In Newtonian physics, time is something that has to be dealt with, and it just keeps going. In quantum physics, at such a small level, time does not exist. And what these guys showed or won this prize for in 22 was that particles that are quote unquote entangled, that have a relationship with each other, can affect each other instantaneously regardless of distance. So they're right together, they're in relationship. If they're on one side of the universe and the other side of the universe, they're still in relationship. And their location doesn't exist except as a probability. So we could, I don't want to get too much into the weeds, except plant that as a possibility that it's more than just a mind game, but that serious scientists have gone around to prove that to their satisfaction. But under the sun is not the whole. There's more than that. There's a deeper truth embracing the many in a greater one, in a greater reality. So let me share a little bit more. And so Shapiro writes it this way. He says that the world that you and I know, the world we experience when we view ourselves as separate beings, is a world of time, a world of impermanence. Solomon calls it the world under the sun. However, Solomon hints that there's another world, or rather another way of looking at the world. And it's the way that Solomon calls the heart's sense of eternity. Now, I may not know anything about quantum physics that I couldn't look up and read to you, but I do have this heart sense of eternity, and so do you. We have to look carefully at this idea of eternity if we were to understand what Ecclesiastes or what Kohelet is saying. If we take eternity to mean time without end, we mistake it for permanence. And permanence does not exist. That's kind of the point of what we're working with here. And of course, you don't have to believe me, but listen and check it out in your own experience. Eternity is not time without end, but an ending of time. Because just the idea of permanence and impermanence, both of those ideas depend on time. They're measured by time. Permanence seeks to freeze things in time. And impermanence seeks to let it flow. I will add a sidebar here that I've often thought of idolatry as a clinging to permanence, of trying to make something that should be moving permanent. Like small ideas of God, or like, God, you have to be what I think you are. And that's that trying to make it permanent. And to me, that feels very much like idolatry. But coming back to Shapiro, permanence seeks to freeze a thing, and impermanence seeks to let it flow. But both focus on it. And Kohelet tells us that there's some reality that is beyond that, that is not dependent on time. We have an intuitive understanding of this timeless reality implanted within us. It's a human capacity. Most of us have experienced this timeless realm. Some call it being in the zone. Others refer to it as flow. However we might name it, it's a sense of time stopping. When we're in the flow or the zone, we're so absorbed in the present that we drop all concern with self and time and eternity. There is just now, and now never ends. And so he explains for him, it happens most often in meditation. I would like to share that it can happen. It used to happen to me as a kid reading. For some people, it might be knitting or other kind of handcraft or running or bird watching or something that just absorbs your attention beyond time. And at such moments, the sense of self can fade away. And there's a focus maybe on breathing or the thing that you're doing. But it's without any sense of my or I or mine. That fades away. And in this sense of timelessness, there's an acute sense of the world, but there is at the same time, there's no I that is doing the sensing. And when the I, the ego, returns, I discover that half an hour has passed, or an hour has passed, or, a surprising amount of time that seems to be no time at all, literally. And that's what we're talking about, a different orientation of time. So he says he has spoken of this experience at a meditation retreat, and a woman commented that she had the same kind of experience while doing needlepoint. And working on her needlepoint, her attention would be so focused as to put an end to everything else. And she'd follow the needlepoint pattern flawlessly, but without a sense of herself doing the work. There was just the work, just the needle going in and out of stretched cloth. And this demanding work would happen without any sense of effort, without any sense of self, or the passing of time. And when we return from that kind of an experience, and check this out in your own experience, he says that we feel lighter, more open, more connected to others. It's as if someone has taken the hard shell of our ego and perforated it to let in the rest of the world. We're filled with quiet joy that can stay with us for quite some time. Now, those are his words and how he describes it. You might want to consider if you recall experiencing that in any way. And you may have different adjectives, descriptors for it. So finishing this up, Solomon reminds us that we each have this capacity to open to eternity, not as an immortal self living in some time without end, but through the ending of self and time by becoming one with the immediate moment. I don't know if you remember that poem I read to you about the little duck who cuddled in the waves, was one with that moment. It's just that. Becoming one with the immediate moment. And the key is to find a practice that creates this focused attention. Well, that's what I'm doing here with meditation, and maybe you are too. And he finishes saying that Kohelet is a celebration of, he cautioned, this is not a practice to escape from the ordinary world of self and time. We're not getting rid of the self. We're not getting rid of time. We're not escaping from it. This understanding is really a celebration of this world, and it's not in any way a call to abandon it. While it's helpful to experience that which is timeless, the real value in doing it is in returning to this world of time, of fleeting moments, with deeper tranquility and peace, and a noticing of that time. So before we sit, does anybody have a question, a complaint? We can complain to Kohelet, by the way. Oh, I was going to did I give the Hebrew? I actually didn't give the Hebrew, all the Hebrew. But what they're using for eternity here, so et hakol asa yafe be'ito, everything is beautiful in its moment. Gam et ha'olam natan belibam. Now, in the English here, it's saying, but the ripening is hidden from your mind. It can also be olam, eternity. Eternity is given in your heart, but it's your heart mind. Lev is your heart mind. And we can't tell if the moment is ripening or not ripening, if it's starting or ending. We cannot comprehend the beginnings or endings. So I'm going to stop the share. I didn't see anybody's hand up or anything for right now. Let's go ahead and find your seat. We'll just sit and experience some moments. Find your seat, make any adjustments that will allow you to sit here relatively still, pretty alert, but at ease. And let all the words just roll off your shoulders. And let your attention begin to rest on the breath. Sitting straight and dignified, but at ease. And it might help to take a few deep cleansing breaths to start. Feeling the slow, deep inhale. Feeling the expansion of the belly. Exhaling slowly, completely. Releasing worry. And continuing to allow your attention to follow the breath either at the tip of the nostrils or in the rise and fall of the belly. Just let your breath settle into its own natural rhythm. Bringing just enough energy to the feeling of the breath to keep it in the foreground, as if it is the most interesting thing ever. Sense if there's any feeling of holding on to the breathing process anywhere in the inhale, in that feeling of fullness, in the exhale, feeling of emptiness or waiting for the next breath. And let that relax any amount. Deeply let be into the bodily feeling of breath. Letting the feeling of breath draw you into oneness with it, as if letting the breath do the knowing, letting the breath meditate you. And if the mind wanders, let that feeling of the breath draw you right back to it like a magnet. There's nothing to do, nothing to fix, nothing to create, nothing to solve. Just resting the attention so lightly on this breath while the body breathes all by itself. And if the mind wanders, let that feeling of the breath draw you right back to it. You can stay with the breath. You can follow my voice and begin to let your awareness settle into the feeling of the body as a whole. Starting with the top of the head, scanning the body at your own pace. Top of the head, back of the head, small muscles of the forehead and around the eyes, the cheeks, the lips, the chin, the jaw, neck, shoulders, arms, forearms, wrists, hands, fingers, back body, collarbone, sternum, heart space, front body, organs enclosed by the rib cage, the belly, hips and thighs, knees, shins, calves, ankles, feet, toes, from the tip of the toes to the ankles, tip of the toes to the knees, tip of the toes to the hips, Notice any feeling of tightness or holding on, and let that relax any amount. Allowing bodily feelings to just settle in their own way. Tip of the toes up to the shoulders. Tip of the toes to the shoulders and down the arms to the fingers. Tip of the toes to the top of the head. Deeply let be into the body. Letting the body draw you into oneness with it. Let the body do the knowing. Let it meditate you. And where you notice any feeling of tightness or holding on, let that relax any amount, letting it settle in its own way. And if you notice the mind beginning to wander, just let that grounded feeling of the body draw you right back like a magnet. You can stay with the body or with the breath. Or you can bring your awareness to any thoughts arising in the mind. Notice if there's any sense of grasping on to the thinking process or to a mental framework and orientation, any holding on to a sense of self, to a thought or a memory. And just let that feeling of holding on, let the holding on relax deep within. Give the heart and mind permission to fall gently and totally open. Let the mind reunite with the natural openness that's already here. There's nowhere to go. It's right here. Open like space. Let this total openness of mind draw you into oneness with it. Letting the openness of mind itself do the knowing. Letting the openness do the meditating. Allow any patterns of thought or feeling, expectations to just unwind and release. You don't need to push them away, just let them soften, release within this space of deep acceptance, letting everything be. And when the mind feels like it's closing up again, holding on to a narrow frame of thought or feeling, just let the heart and mind relax again. Let it reunite with that natural openness that's already here. Letting habitual thoughts or feelings just unwind and release within the space of deep acceptance. There's nothing to get, nothing to get rid of. Let it be enough, this moment. It will pass, no doubt, my dear. Let it be enough, this moment. It will come and leave you here. There is no control, no power you can use to keep it near. Let it be enough, other times will come. This moment is one. Let it be enough, other times will come. This moment is one. Okay, thank you, everybody. There's some deep concentration coming through the Zoom there. I am happy to stay on and talk a little bit. I know this stuff can be a little bit slippery or very slippery. And happy to hear complaints on anything that's not clear, or I'm going to just take them straight to Kohelet.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't have much of a voice. The paragraph or piece of poetry, or I don't remember what it was, about eternity, some, and then eternity is about, I don't remember which part of the presentation text that you showed us. I want to interpret that a little bit better. I want to ask to work, if you don't mind. That's what triggered me.
Yeah.
Triggered me not in a bad way. That's what made me focus on, wait a minute, what does that mean?
So let me just, so he was talking about eternity, that eternity, if I'm getting the right spot for you, where eternity, that one way of thinking of eternity is as if it's time without end.
Right.
That's one way. But he's saying that you can read Ecclesiastes as saying eternity is the end of time. Like time is not a factor. It's a moment where you don't have a sense of time.
Got it.
Okay? And permanence and impermanence depend on time.
That's true.
But he's saying there's another reality where time is not a factor. And that's what I was trying to share and with the whole Newtonian physics and quantum physics, that this is not just a nice poetic idea. Not only do we have the capacity to experience that in our lives, in just our human, everyday of, there's the times when I'm feeling the ticking of the clock, or I am aware of time passing, and there are moments when I am not aware of time passing. Ask Bill, there's more of those for me. I have yeah. And science is showing us a way of looking at this also. Newtonian physics always has this arrow of time with it. Whereas quantum physics, it doesn't exist. So at a time where things are so tiny, where you can't even tell where a thing is. Anyway, that's it. Eternity like the thing that I
Mhm.
know I grew up thinking of as eternity is this time where I'm going to be me just like I am forever.
Mhm.
Um, so does that help?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. It's where time is not even an element.
because it's mentioned. So then I was surprised. I said, "Are you contradicting yourself?"
Yeah, yeah,
It kind of made me think a little bit, So,
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. And that's exactly why I'm spending so much time with this stuff is because it is slippery. And I have been so disappointed when we at Sukkot when they read through this really quickly, and everybody's oh yeah, vanity of vanities, time for this, time for that, yeah, 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 and it sounds so shallow, so
right.
shallow. But it's kind of like Moses at the burning bush. We don't know how many people walked by that bush and said, "Oh yeah, that bush is on fire. Maybe they're burning trash or something." But Moses, the importance, part of the importance of his action is that he stopped and paid attention. How long do you have to watch a burning bush until you see it's not being consumed? It takes time, and there's some depth there. There's some directing of the attention and allowing for something new than my expectation of what this picture is to see, oh, what's really happening here.
Right.
And here we have this option to notice those moments in time that where we're having a moment that is beyond time, where time is not a factor. Ah, I'm touching eternity there.
It's complex, but by um, decompartmentalize it, I mean, chopping it up and trying to say what this means, and then you come to the conclusion of that sentence.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, that's the way I see it now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Julie.
Yeah, and it's not like we want to get rid of time and that we always want to lose the sense of time. It's to know that
Hmm.
both of those exist so that when we are experiencing the feeling of time, that is richer, that is enriched by that we notice that moment into moment into moment.
Yeah.
And that we don't try to grasp onto the moments, like especially the good ones that like, oh, let this baby never grow up. I know. um, but they do, and we actually want them to. Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful teaching. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, thank you, everybody. um,
Thank you. Thank you for the song too. I
yeah,
love that song. I
yeah,
love.
I do too. I haven't, I'm having a little thing like Rosanna's having. Like, but you bring what you got, so there you go. So everybody be well. Oh, and this Sunday, I'm just gonna have to send out a recording. I'm not gonna be able to teach in person. I'm teaching an intro to Judaism class in the afternoon. Um, I only do it once or twice a year that they call on me, and that happens to be when it is, and it's so I will send out something. In fact, maybe I'll send this one out again.
That'll be good.
Okay.
Thank you, Julie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Be well.
Thank you.
You too.
Bye.
Thanks.